Hi, guys. What's going on? My name's Dale Wheatley, and I'm joined by the lovely Angela. She's off screen right now, but she's there, and she's wonderful. She's as wonderful as I've ever said anyone to be. Oh, I'm live on YouTube. Now, do I have sound on YouTube? I don't know. Probably only Jesus knows, but he's not around. So,
Hey, that's really neat that the chat remains from when you logged off before.
sound, says Erica. Sound. Do you guys know the AC/DC song "Let There Be Rock"? Let there be sound, and there was sound. Here we are, folks. Hello, hello. Thank you for your patience. I don't know what's going on, man. I completely, I won't get into the craziness and we'll just get into the fun, but I had to go through a lot of shit to get here. And I got here with one leg.
You sure it's
So,
working?
well, according to Erica, she's playing with the yays. Erica says sound, guilty angel claps.
Sweet.
Yay sound says Alyssa.
I don't know. I'm not getting that in this. That's cool that you have that.
Um, well, I don't know either. I don't know. Holy shit, did Diddy get off? Well, I don't even know. Like, the truth is, I don't really know. And that's the thing about these federal trials is that, you get this trickle of information. I've been reading like recaps and it's just so horrific. Most of it was just so horrific that I could barely like spend any time with it. But he's got to be loving it. I mean, he's still facing 20 years.
He's facing 20 years, but they're thinking that he could get as little as like 4.
Yeah. With one served.
I think the most upsetting thing that I noticed after the Diddy verdict today was that a lot of people are blaming the jurors and like blaming them for like misogyny and not believing victims and stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's not the jurors' fault. I think that jurors tend to do the best that they can with what they're given, and it seems like the prosecutor really fucked up that case.
Well, I'm glad you're saying that because
weirdest thing.
I don't think it's the juror's fault at all. What it is that rich people can afford the right people to manipulate. Like, it's class war. And then when class warfare makes its way into the courtroom, and this is true in the Karen retrial, where it was like for the benefit of justice, versus in this one where there's certainly a lot of people who don't think justice was served here. But it's what money buys, man. Money buys great lawyers, and great lawyers confuse jurors to the point that jurors can walk away with doubt, and that's all you have to do is create doubt. And that's why prosecutors have to be brilliant, and we just don't have brilliant prosecutors anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, what do you think actually happened? Because you were saying that that the wealthy get away with it. So you think the federal prosecutors were trying not to convict?
Well, it's not that. It's just that they lack the resources and the ability, I
don't think that explains how bad they did.
I'll give you an example. Well, what I mean by that, okay, well, let me be more blunt about it. Highly paid criminal defense attorneys is like putting Michael Jordan up against a middle school basketball player when you're dealing with most prosecutors.
No, I get it, but these are federal prosecutors.
I don't care. There's still the guys who are like they're not the big name guys.
Okay. Also, the defense attorneys didn't even like. You think that they won their case through cross examination because they didn't even have their own defense? Do you remember? They like rested like right away. They warmed the bench. They didn't. We're going to sit this one out.
Oh well, yeah, they did. They didn't put a lot on.
That's what
the
makes
defense
me think
attorneys didn't.
That's what makes me think that the prosecutor screwed this up so royally that they were like, you know what, we'd do better by just letting them go unanswered. If the prosecutor screwed up that bad,
we're making the same point. We're making the same point. The prosecutors look. When you watch the Karen retrial, it was to me it was night and day in terms of quality of lawyer. Night and day between quality.
No, it's true. But we're talking about the Diddy trial. And I think that in this one, I think that it's like...
Expect more of the same. He's able to pay for the best of the best.
Okay, but that doesn't explain how the prosecutors spent like 2 days showing the jury arson evidence. Evidence of P. Diddy conspiring to commit arson, and then the evidence of the arson having been committed. He's basically admitting it. And then right before the jury goes back to deliberate, they drop the arson charges.
Are we talking about the car?
Yes, and a
because
bunch of
in the car, the testimony, it's very nobody could pin it on him. So,
listen.
like in the cross,
That's the prosecutor's fault, is what I'm saying.
in the
They just dropped
cross,
all their charges. Like half of the trial involved charges that they dropped before the jury went back to deliberate. I don't
as soon as it
understand.
happened, I said it didn't look good, and then there was some commentary from the legal community saying, no, this is common or whatever. Well, there you go.
They narrowed the charges, but the ones that remained had nothing to do with like half of the things that they showed the jury.
Right.
So it wasn't that they were just like overbroad and everything that they wanted to prosecute him with stuck. They actually threw away entire parts of the story. Like there was probably charges in there that would have gotten Cassie and Jane some justice.
Right.
But they just threw it out with the arson charges and everything else that, that they like the jury spent like 2 weeks like watching all of this testimony that didn't even have factor in at all. So I think that their job, the jury's job, was probably really convoluted because the prosecutor's argument was really incoherent. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do if you watch a whole trial and then just on a whim, like right before you go back to deliberate, they're like, oh yeah, forget about like, you should just ignore like half of what you saw.
Yeah, well,
like,
it's a
what are
weird
you
thing
supposed
because
to do?
the question is like whether did they do it because I mean the reason that came back was that they did that because they wanted to simplify the process for the jury so that the jury slip wasn't some kind of convoluted mess that would cause that would ultimately end in a hung jury.
You know what? That's like one way to frame we failed to prove our case.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
That's not what they said.
Like
That's
we
what
want to
I'm saying.
make it easier for the jury is like we want to make we want to make it less obvious how badly we did.
Well, let me clarify. I don't know that that's what they said. I'm saying that was the commentary of this tactic that lawyers were saying.
I agree
commonly,
with you. I'm sure that that's what their objective was.
So the point
but
is,
it's a really good way to cover up prosecutorial like.
Clearly, the fucking prosecutor blew this case.
Yes,
like blew
this
it.
is exactly my point. A lot
or
of people
did they
there...
have the case they thought they had in the first place? In other words,
no,
like
not.
somebody wrote like, was this just like did the tapes prove more consensual activity than anything else, or just consensual activity plainly?
I know that the jury saw that hallway photo. I mean, that hallway video
She wasn't
of her
charged.
getting dragged and beaten.
He wasn't charged for anything for that hallway video.
This is exactly my point. It's not the jury's fault. I don't want anybody out there to let this go
100%
unchecked.
not the jury's fault.
If anybody's like, hey, that jury is, whatever ism that they want to assign
I don't
to the
see
jury
anybody blaming the jury right now.
I've seen a ton of it where they're like, this is a problem with having juries in celebrity trials
I'm talking about
because
this case.
They're starstruck.
This case, people are blaming the prosecutor. It's all over the internet right now. It's the prosecutor all the way.
I hope so. That's where it belongs. They fucked up.
Well, that's where it is. It's on the prosecutor, 100%. So, but on the other hand, I have this argument that I think is a very valid argument. It is hard to put celebrities away. It took 2 trials to put Danny Masterson away. You know what I mean? And they were headed toward a hung jury. I agree that there's obvious mistakes made by this prosecutor. That's obvious. I don't know what they are. I'm not a lawyer. I also don't have access to the actual case. I haven't actually watched the case. So even as an amateur, I can't opine on it with enough confidence to weigh in one way or another. But it's plainly obvious that there were some mistakes made because of the massive adjustment on the charges prior to the deliberation, and of course the verdict itself. Like if you're going to bring RICO charges, but I got to tell you that when they brought the RICO charges, and I read the charges, and this was that without me knowing much of the evidence, I was wondering if they were going to make them stick. Like
Are you streaming okay?
They looked tough to me. Yeah, we're in excellent condition.
Okay, cool. Because it looks like today's is only a 7-minute long file.
You're on the wrong stream.
I know. I'm having a hard time getting back to where you belonged.
If you go back to the channel.
It says live, but it's yesterday's episode. It says number 37.
Oh, go to that one. It's just because the thumbnail didn't get updated because it's a mess, bro. Can you just watch it? Watch today's, whichever one is live. Go on that one.
I just wanted to make sure that you're cool because it just started to.
Anyway, I was saying something. I can't remember what it was. It's been a messy start. I apologize, guys. I really do.
Okay, so I do want to.
I have to run to the other software, and so there's no setup. There's no proper setup here. I can try to.
Don't try to do anything.
Yeah, I'm just going to work on it while we talk. So, just go ahead.
I think that I've heard this a few times that it's hard to charge celebrities. Sorry, it's hard to convict celebrities. And I'm like, okay, well, why would that be? Because, both sides have a role in selecting the jury. So you can select jury members that aren't starstruck or don't even know who the celebrity is, right? So that shouldn't make it hard to convict celebrities. Do they mean that it's like there's so much scrutiny that the prosecutor's office actually has to work really hard to make sure because they're being watched so much, they actually have a harder time bringing a conviction? So are they saying by comparison, regular people who don't have all of this celebrity and fanfare get put away in jail a lot easier? Is that what they're saying?
Might be.
Like, is it hard to convict celebrities, or is it the right amount of difficulty to convict celebrities? Because it should be hard to convict anybody.
I think, I think I stand by my statement. It's really hard to convict celebrities with actual evidence against them. Like, so in my case, which was a civil case, but still, in my case, we had, and you've read it yourself, we have testimony that like looks like just a bang and win for us. Like when you go through the actual testimony, I don't know how we lose. I don't know how we lose. Our lawyers were terrified of Leonardo DiCaprio on the stand. Terrified. They were like, you're not going to beat him. They're not going to rule against him. And when you're faced with years and years in prison, when you're faced with all these like major consequences, I think that celebrity helps you, and so do lawyers.
I believe in your case that they were trying to manipulate you into taking a settlement. I don't believe that they should have thought for a second that it would be difficult to put Leonardo DiCaprio on the stand with a jury that they selected. They don't have to be starstruck by Jack Dawson from Titanic if they select a jury that hasn't seen Jack Dawson from Titanic. Do you know what I mean? Like, select the jury.
Did you just hear what you said? Do you realize the impossibility of what you just said?
I'm saying that that's
there
their
was
job.
No such thing as a jury that hadn't seen Titanic.
Yeah, they convinced you of that because they wanted you to take a settlement.
Well, no, because we had it, because our jury would take place in the city of Los Angeles, California, where basically everybody saw Titanic. That's why. Not because of anything like that, because we're just not going to be able to show, we're not going to be able to escape Titanic. Titanic is in like Amazonian tribes.
No, I know. But do you think they could have selected a jury that like maybe saw it and then didn't like it or didn't give a shit? Like
the only place to
a bunch of middle-aged dudes who were like, yeah, I guess it was good.
The only place to find a jury that hadn't seen Titanic was literally to find like indigenous tribes somewhere that had never been exposed to humanity. It was an impossibility. There was no way we were going to get that. And to the point, right? The point isn't any more than the fact that people are going to be starstruck. Some people are going to be, they're going to be less likely. They're going to feel. So our lawyers said that jurors are more likely to feel that people are trying to take advantage of people of status than they are a normal, regular, everyday Joe.
See, you're circling back to the jurors being starstruck, and then that's why Diddy got off. And I just won't tolerate that because I believe that juries are really.
I mean, you don't have to tolerate it, but like
I'm saying, juries take their responsibility seriously, and this is a case where violence was done to the victims of that they met, that they saw testify, and so I just don't think for a second that affected them. I think that it's really easy for people to scapegoat jurors because it's harder for people to understand that maybe the federal prosecutors, who are supposed to be like the best in the business, fucked up so badly.
Well, they're not the best in the business. It's sort of like politicians and them not being the best in the business. We don't get the best of the best in public service because the money pours pours into the private sector. So.
I always heard that like the feds don't bring cases they can't win. I always thought that there was like some big pride about federal prosecutors making sure that they've got the.
Yeah, you got to wonder who's giving you that information, right? But like in the end, we just saw them get their asses completely kicked by Diddy's attorneys.
Well, this is why I'm more receptive to the conspiracy that you were saying. You're like, oh, okay, they threw out a bunch of charges right before deliberations. Like, so did somebody pay them?
Well, this is what I'm talking about. This is well, I'm glad you bring it up because I think this is like really what's loaded into the whole idea of like it's hard to beat stars. Because I truly believe that Danny Masterson got to the jury in the first one. And getting to the jury can be a number of things. It can be they got a Scientologist on the jury in his case, or it can be that they got money to a juror right? They got a promise to a juror, a promise.
Or a threat.
All it takes, or a threat. These are all the things these are the only little things that you need to get to a juror. And when you have an absolute wild enterprise and you have every single juror's name, right? Then you have the opportunity to figure that stuff out. We know historically that jurors get intimidated. We know historically that jurors get bought. We know that's true for cops. We know that's true for judges and DAs. We know that everybody, in the public sector, or all the jobs in the public sector have at one point or another fallen to briberies or intimidation. We know that. To prove it, to find out when it did it happen? We don't know. But I think that's built into when my lawyer turned to us and said, it's hard to convince a jury. Because, you first of all have, and they were very adamant about it, and these are the people who actually do it. So I kind of rely heavily on what they say. And they're telling me, look, dude, you don't understand how jurors work. Jurors are gonna be, their eyelashes are gonna be batting at this dude, male or female. They're gonna be enamored by him. And they're going to be more likely to believe the things he says, even if they're outrageous. And it seemed like a ridiculous thing at the time, but here we are in these times when some of the most ridiculous shit comes out of people's mouths and people believe it. We've watched Blake Lively have her entire life and career destroyed before our eyes with a bunch of people believing absolute garbage by guys like Andy Signor, who are practically worthless to humanity, being the man at the pulpit. So it's immeasurably easy for me to believe that the jurors could have heard entirely compelling information, saw Diddy on there, and went, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to comfortable it. And, so they end up with a consolation verdict where they're like, all right, we'll give him these two.
Yeah.
And he'll do something.
I don't think those jurors thought that he was innocent. I thought that they were really pinned in by the jury instructions and the charges that they were supposed to deliver.
I wonder why you think that, but I can't wait to hear from them.
Because we saw court reporting of what the jurors saw. And then they saw even more than the court and the rest of us saw, because they had their little videos and their little headphones that they had to watch, right? Which is just a super weird thing they must have had to go through. Anyway, they know more than we do that he is a violent person and that he was caught on video doing violent things, right?
Yes.
There was there's testimony by a guy who was like, he threatened to blow up my car and then my car got blown up. You know what I mean? So I don't think for a second that the jury went back there thinking that this is a good person who has been wrongfully charged and he deserves to be an innocent person that walks free. I mean, obviously they ended up with a guilty verdict, but
you can't convict somebody on like somebody said they were gonna do something and then that thing happened without actually seeing them or having evidence that they did.
But they weren't even given that problem to solve,
right? Because
the fucking prosecutors dropped those charges.
Yeah.
And so many others. Like I can't find it anymore, but there was like a whole list. It was like 5 different charges.
Yeah, I read it too. I don't remember specifically what it was either, but it was a lot.
Also, the conspiracy charge, right? Like, was he the only person being charged with a conspiracy? How does that work? Was he the only person being charged with racketeering?
You know what's real? Okay, you bring up
what I mean?
One of the things you bring up that really blows my mind is that when this thing started, all we heard about was how it was going to be a dominoes of some of the biggest. No one's ever seen a fall like this. Everyone was talking about Cat Williams and his prediction, and it was like, man, this is going to be the biggest fall of Hollywood. It's going to make Weinstein and Cosby look like nothing. It was just going to be like the most explosive Hollywood event ever. They got Leonardo DiCaprio in exile in
Exile. I know. I remember
in
that.
Italy.
Like, he's on vacation,
living in a non-extraditable country, and you got like other stars. And I believe that everyone did the buy up the tapes thing. I believe that wholeheartedly. My beard is messy and it's driving me crazy because I was wearing a mask all day. Do you know what I did today? By the way,
I like it though. You got kind of like this little conquistador curl here going on.
I've had this staunch supporter, like probably the best supporter I've ever had in my entire life in terms of like somebody that isn't, in love with me. Right. Like
yeah.
I've had this supporter that is like really like the greatest thing ever. Like if I ever produce something that is like remembered over time, he's going to get mentioned because of how much he's contributed to my life and ability to make art. He's this like really kind of an angel in that way in my life. And he's always been there for me, even when he's in his own struggles. And so his mother also has been somebody who's been a supporter. and his mother is in hospice. And so he asked me to go read to Real to his mother today, who was in hospice. It was a very emotional, kind of very, it was strange in some ways, but really emotional and beautiful. And like, I felt very lucky to have the moment, like, yeah, I felt like an important and proper moment. So I get there. I interrupted the story. I'm taking over the story. So I get there and I'm like, hey, do you want me to read? And, she's still with us, but she's like very like you can't understand her. She comes out with these sentences that are sort of non sequitur. I don't know how much of it is actual dementia and how much of it is like just a brain fog of being elderly. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't really seem to be transported in and out of time or anything, but she just seems to be like just anyway. It doesn't matter. So I start reading, and she's watching, and then I finish the preface, and then I'm like halfway through, and I kind of glance up at her, and she does not seem very interested in what's happening at all. I'm like, hey, are you enjoying this? And she's like, oh, I read it already.
So great.
So I just snapped the book closed and I said, do you want to just hang out? And she was like, yeah. And so we just hung out for like 30 minutes and just talked. And I didn't read her another damn word of it. She's like, I read it already.
I thought you were going to bring me a different book.
Yeah, I guess she was thinking I was going to like read her somebody else's damn book. So I was embarrassed for about a sliver of time, just for a sliver of time, like maybe just a few seconds. I was like a little red in the cheeks about it. And I was like, well, she read it already, man. Let's hang out. I don't think she actually read it. I think she like read some of it because I read chapter 1. So she probably read chapter 1, but she's not really in the space of being able to read. But anyway, little funny side story. P. Diddy, bro. So where are you if you're Cassie? Like you're just terrified.
Okay. So let me get into the comments.
Yeah.
Erica says another big win for evil men. Who is surprised? Alyssa said, I mean,
it really just to comment on Erica's comment, right? Like let's just ring them off. Let's comment a little bit. Erica, like I feel that pain. I feel it personally. It hurts me so hard. I bring it up with Leo all the time, but I am like, come on, I have a book that should be killing it right now. This book should be killing it. It doesn't have to be like a bestseller, but it should be killing it right now. And Leonardo DiCaprio successfully removed this book from everybody's mouth in the public. Like I'm relying only on my very, very inadequate marketing and social media skills, none of which have been honed for any of this. And these people have so much power and position.
The reason why I know that you're saying this and you're not just sounding paranoid or blaming him for whatever, because it's hard to market a book. But we heard from people in Hollywood who were writing for magazines that are read a lot in Hollywood, like Hollywood Reporter. There was another one too, right?
Deadline and Variety.
Yes. And so Dale's heard from these people who wanted to write about it, but then couldn't.
That's right. No, I listen. I had a writer at New York Magazine talking such a big talk about the exclusive. It was going to be this big ass deal, and then he just turned into ice. And I regret not filming it because it was wild. Like it was like wild the change in this man. So anyway, evil guys, man. I mean, just rich power wins. They don't have to have the truth. They don't even have to have any morality. They have the money, and so they're able to beat us up with their money. I'm probably in for it because the truth doesn't matter, and I thought it did, and I wrote it in my book, and I was like, I am moving forward with the truth, but I don't think it matters. I don't think the truth is going to protect me at all. If Leo wants to have me, I will be had. I will be floating in the river face down. Go.
Alyssa said, I mean, with money, you can get away with anything. Erica said, I've seen a lot of guys online say that Cassie wasn't a victim because apparently the jury says that she wasn't. So that must mean it's true.
Yeah, I didn't see that tape. I didn't see that tape.
Instead of that the prosecutors made a shit argument.
Yeah.
Guilty Angel said, Diddy is a monster. Poor Cassie. We all saw the hallway tape. Alyssa said, this just further proves why victims are so scared to come forward. Cassie put it all out there just for them to basically give Diddy a slap on the wrist.
It keeps happening over and over again. Danny Masterson, though he got convicted and put away, one of his accusers who went on trial twice, her case didn't get a win. Like that is so courageous and difficult. And it just keeps happening. Yeah, it just
Erica said, I wasn't surprised on racketeering, but I can't believe they didn't buy trafficking.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that I'm shocked that they got the 2 prostitution charges convicted and then didn't put trafficking on top of that, because I don't know how one can be without the other in if I understood what was happening, because it sounded to me like it was the traveling freak show. So I don't know. It is very strange. It's a very strange verdict. I yesterday, if you recall, I predicted that he would be convicted of at least 2 things. I believe he could be convicted of 4, but I believed he was going to be at least convicted of 2. And when I said that, I thought what was going to happen was that he was going to get that it was going to be one of the 2 victims, because there were 2 victims. You were right about that. So I thought it was going to be one of the 2 victims, and it turns out that they convicted on both victims. So that's interesting. Each victim got a conviction.
Weird.
But they got this what is the equivalent of a slap on the wrist kind of situation.
Alyssa's got a really interesting point. She said, actually, there is a psychological term for what you're saying, Dale.
Oh.
It's called the halo effect.
Okay.
Where if someone looks attractive, then it's almost like they can do no wrong. Not attractive, but it just a positive impression, which people would have gotten from Titanic.
Teflon Don. Yeah, exactly. That's what thank you. The halo effect I'll remember that forever. So thank you so much. I think I will. Let me do the Jeff Goldblum thing. Halo effect, halo effect, halo effect, halo effect, halo effect. Thank you for talking about that, because it doesn't just happen with stars, because that halo effect.
It doesn't just happen with stars.
It works with just beautiful men.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor she was like really large. In fact, you would probably classify her as morbidly obese, right? And she was a fine person and everything, but she was definitely like, tougher on the tougher side of attraction. And she had this boyfriend who was just like built beautifully, and he was just a good looking dude, but he was a drug addict and he was an abuser. And this guy was, awful. Like I would hear it because I was in a duplex and he was on the other side of it. My God, like I called the cops, and she would not, she kept him. Like I called the cops, they called his ass off. And 2 days later, he was back in that apartment. And she was like, I love him. I love him. I love him. And it was all physical. It was all what he was bringing, this halo effect. He was this thing. He had this smile.
I don't think that's what the halo effect is.
Am I missing it? Have I fucked it all?
That sounds like abuse dynamics that are really complicated.
Anyway,
the halo effect that I was going to bring up is like, okay, so they say that statistically most of the drugs in America are dealt from frat houses.
Yeah.
Because it's a bunch of like wealthy white kids.
Right. Who easily
white dudes, right? Who are like, nobody suspects, They go golfing with their uncles. They drive nice cars.
Yeah. And
apparently they're like America's biggest drug dealers. That's the halo effect. Nobody suspects them. They're like hiding in plain sight, but they're like super criminals.
Super crimers.
Delegate said Justin Baldoni's halo effect. Yeah, it's true. If he's like he's a charismatic talker, and he's I guess handsome. I've been listening to him. I've been disbelieving him for so long that now he's no longer handsome. But when I first saw him, I was like, yeah, he's a handsome guy.
I mean, I think he's drop dead gorgeous. I think if this guy had any semblance of decency and humanity that would be remotely appealing, he would have been the sexiest man alive probably by now, in terms of hitting on the popularity charts. Not that it means anything, but just in terms of popularity, he's absolutely beautiful. He has the voice.
I think that's so interesting, because there is it's a very uniquely straight woman experience where a guy can be really attractive, but if they watching him come on to Blake Lively and her cringing and him not being aware of it.
I'm not talking about that. I think he's absolutely
That's unattractive. What I'm saying. There's attractive dudes that we learn pretty quick to stay the hell away from.
Of course. No, I mean, it's the same thing for dudes. Believe me. Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you how many absolutely drop dead gorgeous women I was like, no, mm-hmm. no. Absolutely happens to, both sides in that respect. Nobody wants some kind of horrible person across from them, regardless of what they look like, Mm-hmm. And again, the weirdest thing about it is you can take beauty, and it's just what's happened with Baldoni and, just your view of him, as it's evolved, but you can take beauty, it's coming. You can take beauty, and then you can be like, once these dark sides are exposed, they have these like certain like expressions that get sort of frozen in your brain. This has happened to me at least, where like somebody super beautiful did like acted in a specific way that was so awful that it's kind of all I see now. So when I kind of look at them, there's this like a distortion to that beauty now.
There's a live video of him posing on the red carpet in his pink jacket. You know, are you with me?
Yes.
Baldoni's
Slick Mick is here. What's up?
You missed him?
Yeah, of course I missed him, man.
That's fun. Hey, like maybe let me make my point.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a video of Justin Baldoni on the red carpet where he's smiling in his pink jacket, and he's got a stance where he's got one hand in the pocket, and he's like kind of got this like swagger attitude,
right. Yeah.
And there is a look in his eye, and it doesn't show up on the pictures the same as it does in the video. But when I saw that, I was like, what is, it's like a little bit of like defiance or something. Like, what is this? He's not just like proud and happy. Like there's something dark.
Yeah.
And when we learned that he was already conducting the smear campaign, I was like, oh, there it is. He's put on this like facade, and he's in like secret trickster ninja mode. Like he's tricking everybody, and he knows it, and it's in his eyes. It
is. And you see it. And you can feel it.
Guilty Angel said Baldoni looks like the devil on the red carpet. That's messed up.
Michaela says on TikTok, she says, rich people almost never get convicted unless they crossed someone richer. Same in the UK. It's just the facts. The facts are, and this is...
Unless they cross somebody richer is interesting.
This is why you have this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. This is what it would have been like if the playing fields were even for me and Leo. You know? And they'll never be even. And that is why to this day, I wake up and I feel an emptiness that cannot be filled. Because I cannot ever get justice. And I know that. I know that all I get are these little moments of where I feel like I've done something, where I've fought for something. But justice will come. It's just going to be long after I'm gone. Because the justice is going to be in the legacy that lives beyond my life and his. Because while he's alive, his foot is on my neck. And that makes it hard. That makes it very fucking hard. Long days sometimes.
Damn, bro.
Yep, it's heavy, but these kinds of things make you feel it all over again every fucking time. Every time you see a star walk, you're just reminded of like...
Well, he's hardly going to walk. I mean, he's going to go to prison for sure.
He's walking, dude. We saw what was on that tape.
No, I know.
That guy's walking. He was facing life in prison. I think he's out in 5 or less.
I kind of like opened up Dale's brain and then poured a bunch of junk in it today.
I've had an emotional day today again.
Because we also watched the Brian Koberger hearing in Idaho.
Yeah, that was tough.
And he, it was the prosecutor was outlined the facts of their case. And then Brian Koberger admitted to having done the killings that he is accused of. And one of the victims' family, one of the victims' family, the Gonsalves family, they are grieving really hard, and they're not taking it very well.
The plea bargain.
And I agree with Dale that it was probably for the best, but like, man, they're like all over the internet, like just...
Listen, they're
really
grieving.
Mad. I think that they're in a stage of grief that just like I hear everything that this father is saying, and like he really deserves counseling. He shouldn't be dealing with it by just like...
Yeah, I mean he's dealing with immeasurable grief,
of course,
and I think that what he doesn't know yet is that the best thing happened. The absolute best thing happened. I was talking about it. I've had this experience in another form where people want to know these morbid facts. There's something about there's something missing from this person's life now. And he wants to know every last second of this person's life. He doesn't care how horrible it is. He wants to know not just her last breath, but her last words. He wants to know what the last thing she saw was. He wants to know if she was sleeping or if she was awake. Really stupid, morbid stuff, like stuff that he'll never heal from. He's asking for something.
He's asking for a worse deal.
He's asking for something that might open up wounds so much deeper that he may never make it back from them. The prosecutor is doing the right thing. I'm not a big fan of prosecutors most of the time.
I don't know that it's their responsibility to decide what information the grieving family gets. You know what I mean? Because the guy's admitted to doing it. He just wants a full confession. He wants to know exactly what happened.
No, he doesn't want a full confession. He wants every morbid detail.
Yes,
he got
that's
a full
what he said.
confession. He got a full confession. He got a full confession. In court today, the judge asked him if he got into his car and went to that place, and he said he did. The judge asked him if he went to that place with the intent to kill the people in the building, and he said he did. The judge asked him if he did in fact kill the people he intended to kill.
I know, but let
and
me
he
ask,
said he did.
Did the judge have him clarify whether he intended to kill all four? Because there's some speculation about whether
they were all grouped as a single victim in the statement. He asked about, well, no, that's not true. He went through every single one, and then he said yes, he went there and he intended to kill them. Now that might be a part of the plea, right?
Right. I don't know that he targeted all four.
You don't.
Before he got there,
You don't. But he said he did in court. He said he did in court. But
Yeah,
they got
heavy.
the full confession to the extent that he admitted to the crimes. He said he went there with the intent to commit the crimes. So, he followed the protocol as sort of, prescribed by the court in order for him to plead guilty.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That's not a confession. That's not him writing
understand
out
that.
they don't know his motive. Nobody knows his motive yet. And I feel like it's just I understand why the victim's family feels a bit strangled without having more information about what happened. How long had you been targeting them? Why did you target them?
It's obviously the most horrific thing for that family to go through. And I understand completely why they want this. I just feel strongly that 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, they're going to start to understand that it was probably better that this guy just went to jail for the rest of his life, and that they got to now get, like, believe it or not, this is a part of the healing process that he's on and that family is on. This is a part of it. This outcry, which I hope that he's being embraced for and that he's being loved through. You got to love him 5 times as much, He
did thank everybody for their support.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting is that he's trying to get the judge to make as a part of his sentence that he can't tell the story, like that he can't sell the rights to the story or write a book about it or be interviewed for a book about it. And I think that is a reasonable request. I don't know what the judge is going to do with that or whether he can.
Slick,
you had a really good point about
Slick saying that Ron Goldberg, he had to and Ron Goldberg's sister, their parents, Ron Goldberg's dad and sister, they had to go and sit and listen to every bloody wound inflicted on that body through that trial, because they went through forensically all the damage. It's such a horrific thing to live through. Like to live through that is so horrific. And it's a part of what makes, like, O.J. Simpson not just a horrible murderer, but also that he couldn't even have enough compassion to just own up to his crime and put at ease the family from there on, but he was a coward and a murderer and a loser, and I'm glad he's dead.
I know, that's why I'm with the Gonsalves family. I feel like he should be prompted by the court to write out a fucking confession. I don't know how it works. The judge made a really good point today about how a lot of people are phoning in and trying to get the judge to do things he literally cannot. You articulated this a lot better earlier.
The judge did it. The judge said in the hearing today, he started the hearing with saying that he and his staff have been inundated with requests from all over the state, from all over the country, from people asking him to
because in his statement he had his phone number. It was the public phone number as the judge's, the courthouse phone number, but
asking him to turn this plea bargain down. To reject the plea bargain. But he also said some very interesting things about the plea bargain itself. The first thing he said was that he can't, with a plea bargain, he can't increase the sentence. So with the plea bargain, he can't give him more than life. So for example, he reaches a plea bargain, he can't give him death as a result of it. He can reject the plea bargain, and then it's up to the DA to recharge or move forward with the charges as laid, but that's all he can do. And it's not. And he also said that the DA could walk away from the case, literally. Like, the DA has all of the power as it relates to the indictment and what specifically any defendant is indicted for. So the judge's hands were completely tied. The only thing the judge could do is administer it and then either reject it. And there's no way that a judge is going to reject 4 life sentences, convictions across the board. This is why I think it's a fair deal. He didn't get anything other than a life sentence. That's all he got. And it's, it's consecutive. I mean, this guy will never see outside prison walls ever again, as he shouldn't. And the difference between what this sentence and what, the Gonzalez are asking for is, they're avoiding a whole lot of torture, because what they and most victims can't possibly imagine is what the process is like it was for the Goldbergs. I think that it took years off of that man's life to go not only through that criminal trial, but then through that civil trial, to go through two agonizing trials like that, listening to your son's murder over and over and over and over again while the smug fucker who did it is out free, is a form of torture.
Yeah, you must lose sleep, be stressed, have ulcers.
It destroyed every minute of his life. Come on, let's face it. So the idea that this guy doesn't now have to live like that. He can now live with the fact that, he's always going to be haunted by the death of his child. He'll never, ever be able to escape the wondering. I would wonder. I would never want to hear it. Not a word of it, personally. That, we all are going to have our own view on this, and I just don't need to. Do you know what I mean? She lived her last days, her last minutes. She lived them. They were hers, and I don't need to live them with her. And I don't think that's how I would want to remember the person I love the most, is constantly replaying this thing that I learned.
I was also thinking that I wonder if the whole family isn't really aligned completely on this. You got
to wonder, yeah.
He is really he seems like he's gone really drastic in the things that he's requesting. And I wonder whether some family members of his are hoping that he wouldn't. Because you're right. I think a lot of people wouldn't want to know all this. I did learn something really interesting.
I personally was glad that trial didn't happen.
Yeah, I know, me too. Because I've noticed, I was very surprised. All the times it happened, the 3 times I've encountered different accounts on Twitter that were saying that Brian Koberger was innocent. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure how anybody thought so, but they would have had to have, those voices would have gotten louder if the trial had happened. He would have had supporters. It would have been
really awful. And then we'd have heard about the way in which he's being we don't want any of that. We just don't want it. But the worst part about it was that we would all be subjected to something so horrific. But here's the other thing that, I think is always worth considering. And that doesn't mean that all trials shouldn't be, televised. And this one was going to be anyway, if we move forward. But just remember that we're living in a place where copycats are just everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And this guy himself is in his own way a copycat.
Yeah, they think that he was copycatting Ted Bundy because it was a sorority that he tried to massacre a bunch of people.
We, by the way, did also listen to the interview with his professor, who has said that if he is open to it, she would like to interview him. She would like to study him to try and understand it. The interview was so interesting. And if you remember her name, we should drop it. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, I do.
But she was so, she said something so devastating because she talked about it. She said, we know as, professors of criminology that, and particularly these these specialties, because she's in a specialty of murder and serial killers. She said that, they know the risk that they have students who are there specifically because they have a morbid fascination with the crime, and that they have, these students, a potential proclivity for, these kinds of crimes.
So,
and she's like, and it's something that as a professor, you try to, you hope never happens, but she got.
What a weird turn of events in her life, because she is an author of several books.
Yes.
Titled Confession of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer.
Yeah.
The Serial Killer's Apprentice, Inside the Minds of Serial Killers, The Forensic Psychology of Criminal Minds.
Dr.
How to Catch
Catherine Ramsland?
Yes, Catherine Ramsland.
Thank you, Slick.
Sorry, I should have said that sooner. She's got a bunch.
She got a load of books, and she's going to write another one.
She also wrote books about Anne Rice books, guides, with some mythology and
not
locations.
Not Anne Rice.
Yeah.
No, is it?
She wrote
And
The Vampire's Companion and The Witch's
really?
Companion.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Ah,
She's a really prolific author.
that's so funny. She just sits there and like rips out the words.
The
huh?
Devil's Dozen, 12 Notorious Serial Killers Caught by Cutting Edge Forensics.
Dude, she's probably writing books in between classes.
Yeah, I know. She's got so many. So how weird for this to happen right under her nose.
It's fucking crazy.
So of course she's going to be pursuing that.
Please,
if the court lets her.
By the way, guys, I think we do. We have 1 like on YouTube, but we have 6 people there.
Because we're talking about us.
5 likes short of a touchdown.
Can I talk about something?
I'm just trying to. I'm whoring myself for likes right now.
Okay, should I wait?
No, I'm done.
Okay, so another really interesting thing in the Brian Kohberger case that we didn't see a trial for, was the forensics that caught him. I thought that was really interesting. So he committed these crimes, and then he went back to school, and then he finished his semester, and then he went home. I know, just like you do.
I'll take no cheese, cheese. Go ahead, cheese.
It's extra guac.
Extra guac.
And then he went home to, I think, Pennsylvania for the holidays.
I love you too.
And on the way it was a road trip because they were taking his car with him. So his dad drove with him across the country from Idaho to Pennsylvania, and he was stopped by the police 2 times. And they haven't revealed whether that was because they were tailing him and they wanted to get their body cam
They want to get him on.
Yeah, because the one witness in the house said that he had really bushy eyebrows. And so I think they just wanted to make sure that they had eyes on who's the driver. Is it this guy that we know is registered to this car?
Can I get you a driver's license and bushy eyebrows, please?
And is the car the one that we should continue to follow? Okay. So they had the DNA from the sheath that was left at the crime scene, a knife sheath.
Correct.
That had his DNA on it.
That's right.
And so what they did was they apparently, and I learned this a while ago, but it's still pretty stunning to me, that if you drop your trash from your house on the curb, the cops can just pick it up and root through it.
Yeah, it becomes public.
It's like
domain.
Public property.
It becomes the public domain at that point. That's why they say shred your shit.
So today in court they said
that's how they got the BTK.
Yeah,
didn't they?
Yeah,
they got a swab out of the fucking trash.
No, I think it was the Golden State Killer too. They swabbed.
Yeah,
his
okay,
trash.
maybe it was that one.
Maybe they just do it all the time.
They're like, hey,
there's like a special FBI agents that are like trash pickers,
and yet these fuckers keep putting their trash out like that.
Well,
I'd be like incinerating in my home.
Brian Kohberger was observed taking.
I'm a smart criminal.
Brian Kohberger was observed taking the trash out with gloves on. So it's possible that he became like super OCD and didn't put any of his DNA on anything.
That's pretty funny.
Because he is a criminology student. So he knows about crime scene investigation and he knows
buying all your shit on Amazon. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. They said that apparently he tried to delete his purchase history.
Shit, I forgot to not buy it on Amazon.
I know.
He's like, anyway, you know what? I'm not going to be some fool who walks into Walmart, buys all my shit at Home Depot.
I know, and gets on camera, so he's going to have it delivered directly to his house instead.
No, he's smarter than that.
Okay, so the cops take the trash from the house he's staying at, which is his parents' house.
Yes.
And they take it to the lab, and they root through all the trash, and they get DNA from a Q-tip.
Yeah.
It's his father's Q-tip.
Oh, shit.
And they matched it conclusively that the DNA
to the sheath.
That the DNA from the Q-tip is the father of whoever's DNA is on the sheath.
By the way, the DNA was a single male too, single male sample. There was nothing else on it except one dude and the victim's blood.
Yeah. So he did it.
But there was only one dude. It was him.
So anyway, they arrested him and then they took his DNA and that's when they got their conclusive match. But I just thought it was an interesting little tidbit that it was a Q-tip that that sealed the deal, sealed his fate. Yeah,
it's so crazy. Slick's saying, and she had a serial unaliver right in front of her, and she didn't see him. And in the interview, she acknowledges that. She's like, it's the Anne rule. It's like Anne Rule.
Anne Rule.
It's so weird that this guy's a Ted Bundy.
Me.
This guy's like a Ted Bundy.
Oh my God! And that's so weird.
It is.
So Brian Kohberger is obsessed with Ted Bundy. And then Ted Bundy's biographer, right? Well, a bunch of people wrote Ted Bundy books, but she knew him.
She's the quintessential biographer.
She was a crime reporter and was writing a book on Ted Bundy's murders before she knew they were being committed by her own friend.
Yes.
Who she'd known for like a decade.
The Stranger Beside Me or whatever it's called?
The Stranger Beside Me, yeah.
Angela's reading it right now.
Because they used to work together in a call center. So weird.
It's
and
so
and Brian
wild.
Koberger was like her student.
Her
And she was a
student.
prolific author of these same books too. What?
And she's like a prolific author. It's almost like there's a reincarnation
We're
she'd have.
repeating each other.
It's wild. That's a wild thing. That's crazy. It's a super parallel. That's just like a super parallel thing because you know a book is forthcoming because even if he doesn't participate in it, this chick is going to write a book because she's already writing it. She's probably halfway through it.
Yeah.
She probably writes 10,000 words a day.
Amazing.
I write 1,000 words a day.
It's a start.
Well, it's a great start because, a lot of people when cosmic urgency is one of these. If you're writing, it's great to set. Yeah, like I found the best thing I could ever do for my writing is set a little goal. So I set a goal of 1,000 words a day because I know I can get 1,000 words a day easy. So you have to set an easy goal. Little side note. But the thing about 1,000 words is it sounds small. 500 words sounds small. But if you wrote 500 words every single day, you could have a novel, a first draft of a novel in 50 days. Sorry, in 100 days. 500 words.
That's real fast.
100 days. And you have a 50,000 word novel. Come on now.
Alyssa says the fact that he studied criminology and still made all those mistakes is insane. It's almost like he thought he was smarter than everybody else. I'm sure he thought he was smarter than everybody else. But one thing that the prosecutors did say was that when they searched his apartment and when they obtained his car as evidence, that it was the most meticulously cleaned that any of their investigators had ever seen. Yeah. They were like, everything was sanitary. Immaculate. Yeah. For some reason, the prosecutor made a point in court. I don't know why he just talked about this detail. He was like, all the little troughs and stuff you have in your doors, like they're always just going to collect crud no matter what you do. But he said even all of that was meticulously cleaned. It was
Q-tip clean.
Yeah, like spotless.
Q-tip and Armor All.
Because he had studied, I think that he had done like some specific type of intensive study specifically in crime scene investigation.
And didn't he buy like a replacement sheath?
Yeah. No, I can't remember if he was going to buy a replacement knife. They do suspect that he was going to try to do it again.
Oh, if he got away with it, you forget about it.
God.
It was wild to see him standing in court. It was wild to hear him speak. There's just something that happens when you hear these guys speak because they're monsters. And so when you I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to hear him go, "Yes, Your Honor. I am guilty." I know. But he doesn't. He goes, "Yes." And you're like, God.
Well, what is interesting is he's super obsessed with Ted Bundy. Apparently his search history includes a bunch of Ted Bundy looks and searching for himself after the crimes, seeing if he was a suspect, But one thing that Ted Bundy did very famously was...
that's inconspicuous.
One thing that Ted Bundy did very famously was escape from prison. So we'll see if Koberger tries that too.
Oh, he's working on it right now. You know that.
Yeah, he's like, where's the vents?
He's like, I wonder if I could use my interview with my professor as a means to. This saga might unfold in the worst possible way. I worked on this. Nadine's with us. Hello, Nadine. Good to see you. I worked on this. I worked on this really cool pilot in LA about 10 years ago. A little more than 10 years ago. It was fucking awesome. It was called Third Strike. And it was basically about this bounty hunter who goes out and hunts down people who are on the run from third strike rules in California.
Oh, yeah.
And in third strike rules in California, if you don't know, third strike you're out is what they call it. It's a very, very aggressive rule. So you commit 3 felonies in the state of California and they throw you away for 25 to life.
No. It's not 3 felonies. It's like your third strike could be jaywalking.
That's I don't think that's true.
You're supposed to be on the straight and narrow. Why are you over?
I worked on this. It's not 3. You won't get thrown out for 3 infractions. That's not true.
Cool.
It's definitely felonies. Yeah, it's definitely felonies. I worked on this project for a couple of years. I'm pretty sure I remember it correctly. That it's 3 felonies. It would seem a little crazy and their prisons would be a little crowded.
It just seems a little weird that you'd get out for 1 felony. Felonies are serious, right?
Yeah, but if you can, of course, you can do a few years.
You don't do time for felonies?
You can do a few years. Yeah. But anyway, it's third strike, you're out. You go to jail for the rest of your life. So this damn series that I was working on for a year had this guy going on hunting these 25 to lifers. And these guys, of course, they don't care. They'll just take you out. And why I'm telling you the story is because when I was developing it, he had this first episode, his pilot episode had this killer, and he had him caught at the end. And I was like, okay, but he's got to get away. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, dude, this is only great if he gets away at the end. He has to escape. And it totally changed everything on, to turn the whole story on its head. I don't know why I was telling you that story.
Because you're talking about Brian Koberger escaping,
well,
like Ted Bundy style.
Yeah, I know, but I had a different reason to tell the story. But we sidetracked and I lost it.
Yeah, this dog is distracting.
I don't have the ability to not be side. If you sidetrack me today, I just want you to know I'm off the rails immediately. I've just had that kind of a day. Yesterday I was like Johnny Jovial. I was like, badoo. Andy Signor's got subpoenaed. I was like,
you just did too much, man. There was just like
today was a really crazy day.
Annoying, stressful,
really
stuff.
Fucking hard day today. And then on top of it, I got to tell you that when these things happen, when Diddy gets away, it hurts. It hurts me too. I feel the pain of his victims because my situation was so bad and so difficult that to even try and imagine it amplified in the way that these people have to live with their perpetrator. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine because I know how difficult it is for me. And of course, we're all different people and we're all different. But Cassie's married and she's got herself a dorky good guy. Did you see him? He's like, hey, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'm going to build you a house with my own hands. I don't know how yet. So maybe that helps.
Don't make fun of him.
I can make fun of him. He's kind of a dork. I love it. I'm so happy for her. I hope he's the greatest dork of all times. It's exactly what she needs. She needs a soft-spoken, dorky dude who's going to make her oatmeal in the mornings. That's exactly what she needs.
I got one of those.
Yes, you do. Jaywalking is illegal in California. I don't know if that's true because it wasn't when I was back in the early 90s. And I remember that because I had a friend who was black, Amani. And he showed up at my house. He was so fucking irate, and he still had road rash. He was jaywalking across Ventura, and they shut down Ventura. The cop pulled out, shut the traffic down, got out of the car, pulled guns on him, made him go face down on the asphalt. Walked up to him, put cuffs on him, picked him up. All he did was jaywalk. They literally ran his stuff. It was all just about running him, because he's this big, like, intimidating black dude. And they just ran his stuff. And when he showed up at my house, he was like, he wanted to sue. He was out of his mind. He had all this
yeah, of course,
road rashy shit from the asphalt. He had like a burn on his cheekbone. He was fucked up and mad, bro.
Yeah. Who wouldn't be?
Jaywalking was illegal then. That story drives me crazy every time I tell it.
Cosmic Urgency said it's a recent development.
Yeah. Yep. It makes sense because I saw a dude get harassed by it. Well, you know what? It's so interesting you bring that up because that might be a reform. That might be reform right there, Oh,
this is interesting. So Nadine is giving us a good explanation of this.
Okay.
California 3-strike law is for felonies. While the law doesn't make misdemeanors felonies, a serious misdemeanor conviction could trigger a strike. And a third felony conviction is 25 to life. It's racially motivated for sure.
Yeah. So I worked on this series called Third Strike, and it was actually a really action-packed, kind of like go get the bad guys. I loved writing on it. It was wonderful, actually. That series didn't get picked up is beyond belief. It's just beyond belief to me because the pilot was one of the strongest I ever read, and I read all the big pilots that got produced, like Sopranos, Mad Men, blah, blah, blah. And this one was like up there, not because I wrote on it and I didn't actually physically write on it. I was developing.
Would you like to answer
all the questions?
Don's Plum questions?
Yeah, all the questions.
Was Derek and Don's Plum supposed to cry, but Leo wouldn't? Sorry if it's not true. My friend read it from your book.
Yes.
He was supposed to cry and he was like, I'm not going to do that.
He knew I wanted him to cry before. He knew it was clear that I wanted him to cry. And then Leonardo DiCaprio said he would not cry.
You have to pay more for tears.
No, he was because he cried in Quick and the Dead.
Yeah, he's like sick of crying.
And then he's like a heavy duty crier. Like, have you seen his crying?
It's like kind of weird.
He cries.
It's not my favorite.
And he cried in Basketball Diaries, like a big time, like snot out the nose cry.
Yeah.
So he was like, "No, you're not going to do it." Yeah, it's true. It's very funny, actually. It broke my heart because I had like this, like it was all supposed to arc to him having this. The confession of his father taking his own life was supposed to be one of the most emotional like moments. This big like emotional crescendo, and Leo said no fucking way, and then he gave us the performance that we got, and I was blown away by the performance that we got. There's this moment when he talks about it where his voice becomes unsteady. It starts to break. He's not going to cry. He promised he wouldn't. But I was like, when I was in the editing room, I was like, you gave me that. That's for me. Because there's this moment where he's just like, you can just hear it just start to wave, to wiggle, to rattle in his throat. And you're like, oh, here it comes. And then he holds it back. He does the Blake Lively advice, make him want it.
Next is, oh, this is sweet. Hi said, the one thing you have that Leo doesn't is a happy, healthy relationship with someone who's beautiful inside and out while he's stuck dating models and breaking up with them while they want to settle down.
Stable, loving relationships are overrated. What are you talking about? No, I'm thrilled with my life.
Don't tempt Dale with dating models. I don't know if it's
the only thing I don't want to date models.
Worse.
I got a gorgeous wife. There's nothing about my life that I think is so unfortunate. It's my circumstances that I don't like. Do you know what I mean? Like my life is wonderful. I have listen, honestly, dude, we have 14 people on TikTok. We have 8 people on YouTube. When we're cooking and we're having like a great night and all these people are joining us and there's tension and controversy and good times or whatever, we have a few hundred tops, 200-300 or whatever, and that's like I think our peak. And I'm so content with that. It's just, so it's not, it's just about my circumstances more than anything else. I want to make films, guys. I want to do something. I want to fulfill the promise that I believed was my life. I want to fulfill that promise. And it's a promise I knew, like I felt. It wasn't like something that I said this before. I taught at the University of Georgia, and I had and I taught seniors, and I had a slew of students that would come in, and they were just distraught about not knowing what to do. They had spent this whole time floundering in school, trying to find a vocation, trying to find a direction, trying to find anything that could lead to their own purpose. And the fear on their eyes.
I know. It's like, dude, you're 22. Like you have like a good decade to figure it out.
Well, I actually buy into their fear, because the fear in their eyes was that they were obviously being released into a world where they're already saddled with debt.
Yeah, right. There's
they got all these issues now. They got all these like big boy, big boy pants issues and big girl pants issues, but they're fucking, they're saddled with, but they have the inexperience anyway, that's not where this was going. Where this was going is that I had the great fortune of knowing everything. I knew what I was. I knew what I wanted to be. I knew everything about, my life. So anyway, these side quests I'm going on are destroying my momentum. My momentum. Slick's back. Haven't seen him in forever, and he's back, and I'm like fucking crashing and burning.
Yeah. So what's the latest with him?
I don't know. I'm not going to turn it into like a let's have a chat with Slick, because there's like all these other people. But I'm so glad to see him. It's nice to have old friends around. And we've been at this for a while now. This is only episode 38 on YouTube, but on TikTok, this is like episode like 200 and something. You know what I'm saying? You got more in the chats?
Yeah, they're talking about how Leo speaks German because his mother is German.
I never heard him do it, though.
He may have learned it and had an easier time because his mom helped.
Yeah. I never heard Irma Lynn speak German either. I'm sure she does, of course, but never heard it.
Does she have an accent?
I believe she does. Her voice is gone from my memory.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Honestly, it's like, my grandmother's voice is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was the weirdest thing about her. Like, it very rarely comes back, but, I knew her all the way up to her death, of course. And it was like maybe 20 years after she passed, I realized that I couldn't remember how it sounded, and I had to go back and like had to sit and focus on my grandmother's voice, and then it finally came back. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Nadine's saying, "Hey, Slick." Nadine's saying hello to you, Slick, but she's on YouTube. She's like, "Hello from YouTube." You remember? You'll probably remember Nadine because she was there back in the beginning as well. What else you got?
I am so sorry. I have got these I have these client messages that I'm putting off that I have to deal with.
Oh, so okay, you're working.
No, it's fine. I'm not anymore. I have this. I use this this app for admin stuff, and they keep sending me messages like, "Hey, you're really like late," and I'm gonna keep being late.
Whatever. We're busy. Can't you tell?
Okay, so Koberger's sentencing
Yeah.
is going to be real soon. It's July 23rd at 9 a.m.
But we know what he's getting. He's getting 4 consecutive life sentences in 10
all
years.
the victims will be making statements too.
Yeah. Well, and this is a part of why I'm glad that this is going to end.
Oh, Koberger could also talk that day too.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get all this behind everybody and let this guy go and fucking waste away in a jail cell and let this become a terrible memory.
So that's July 23rd.
I'm excited. I'm excited for these families that, July 24th is truly the process that they get. Because the other thing that the judge read, which is so important, is that that's a wrap. He can't appeal. He can't do anything. He's done. This is a full acceptance of the sentence. There's no fucking nothing. It's a wrap. And it's not like there's a trial. So this is truly the end for him. And that means that even though his heart is beating in a building somewhere off in the distance, this can really truly be closed for this family in terms of that part of the process. The healing will never end. You know what I mean? I got some Andy Signor stuff I want to update too on that phone call that I forgot to tell you guys. So, Delicate, listen to this. Andy Signor tells me on the phone, I got to play you guys some of this stuff. He says, he starts yelling.
Well, you can't play anybody his part.
No, I can't play his part because I don't have it.
Yeah. I don't want you to tease something you can't share.
He screams at me. He's screaming at me that because he's pretending that I don't know anything. He's just decided I don't know anything. He's decided I'm kind of some stupid schmuck or something. Whatever. He starts screaming that Taylor Swift's dad has turned on Blake Lively.
Oh my God, that's relevant at all? Okay, so that means that, if Taylor Swift's dad has turned on Justin Baldoni, that must mean that Justin Baldoni didn't sexually harass Blake Lively. What the fuck is the problem?
I can't believe this. The other thing he told me was that the people
what is the matter with your brain?
In Lily Bloom's house, that he appeared to be like a stalker, right? That house, he said, of the owners in that house, that they don't like Blake Lively either, Angela.
Oh, okay. So that means surely that means that there was no smear campaign.
Yeah, exactly. They're absolutely.
That means that Jennifer Abel's innocent.
Innocent of everything now because the owners of the home that posed as the exterior, Lily Bloom house, they don't like Blake Lively. They said she needs her.
So he's telling you this because he thinks you're going to be like, oh, I didn't know that. Actually, dude, that changes everything.
Isn't that fucking weird?
Let me just go delete my videos real quick about.
I'm literally yelling at this man that he's ruining this woman's life. His answer is Taylor Swift's dad has turned on her.
I just don't know. This is what we're dealing with. This is the kind of logic that they're capable of.
Well, she said, why does the sound always fuck up when you talk about Blake? That's what Delicate just said. I can't believe the sound is fucking up. I'm just so sorry. I don't understand.
Well, you got to go back to your first thing.
No,
you get in the bag.
That's broken now too.
Why are you always tapping? Come here. Bro, come here.
So I cannot believe this, but it is true. But yeah, his idea of it's good now. Okay, great. His idea of Blake being a bad person is at least in part relying on the fact that Taylor Taylor, and I don't even know where
It
he
just
gets that
goes to show
information.
the kinds of arguments that he's bringing to his audience.
This guy is so worthless. Like, he literally offers nothing of any value whatsoever. He literally made up facts in his own head in the phone call. He brings up absolutely stupid facts when trying to support Justin Baldoni's position. He's a misogynist. He's an asshole. and I couldn't be more excited that Blake Lively is trying to get from him more evidence to prove this smear campaign. And if he's a part of it, I would not be surprised if he's on their payroll. I would not be surprised if they're the ones, meaning the Baldoni camp is the ones funding his absolutely stupid, pointless, and worthless documentary. This documentary will have no value.
There are some people online who are trying to like discern what the allegation would even be. Like, so if he's working in coordination, oh my God.
Just go ahead. Just ignore it.
If he's working in coordination with Baldoni's team, what does that look like? Does he have to take money from them? Does he have to take direction from them? Like, could it be that they're just in contact with him and they're like, we really like what you're doing? Like, is that enough to be in...
You showed me that bizarre video. You want to cue it up? You want to send it to me? There's a video of this influencer who's like, oh my God, I just got a DM from like the person. Like,
she's like, I'm not going to say who it is, but it's Justin Baldoni and Justin Baldoni's team. They're telling me that he's watching and that he loves what we're doing.
She's like, do you know what this means, guys? She doesn't realize it means that they're colluding in a smear campaign. She's like, do you know what this means? They're watching us, you and me. Like, honestly, and this is how I feel like, in all likelihood, you're getting the kind of reaction you're getting out of Andy Signor now that he's a TMZ subject, is that they're lost in this idea of fame. Like, Andy Signor doesn't realize that he's absolutely nothing more than a bump on a fucking log. Like, he doesn't understand that the only reason his name is being mentioned is in a completely dubious fashion, that he is a shill for the extreme right wing, or the alt-right wing as they call it. It's just like wild to me. I love, though, that he's like what he is now. He is what he is now. Now he's in the club. He screamed over, I mean shouting, I hate Donald Trump. The first time I interviewed with him, the second time I interviewed with him.
Most of the people on that side probably hate him too, Dale. It's like, he's not like a lovable character. You know what I mean? He's extremely disloyal. People are only interested in proximity to him because he's influential to some people, right? He's powerful enough.
It's just funny where I was going with this is that he's screaming about how he hates Donald Trump. He said in my first interview at Popcorn Planet, he said that he asked me not to talk about politics because he has Trump supporters in his audience members and he doesn't want to upset them, but that he himself is not a Trump supporter.
I don't know why you keep bringing this up.
I've got a point.
Okay.
That his parents are Trump supporters, but he himself is not. Right. Then when we were in the shouting match the other day, I say, you're nothing but a shill for the alt-right pipeline. He got all offended, started screaming, I hate Donald Trump, I hate Donald Trump, I hate Donald Trump. He is so excited. Like, they're already leaking that they're going to have Candace Owens in his documentary. Like, he's beside himself with excitement. He's such it's just a complete, so if he's telling the truth, which maybe he is, maybe he's not, because he's completely untrustworthy in my opinion.
Of course.
But if he's telling the truth, then he's just like the worst kind of sellout, because and I can prove it, I have texts. I was asked to be on Candace Owens' show just a couple of months ago. They tried to like kind of rook me into it, this publicist. And what I told that person was to go fucking beat it. I was like, man, I'm not going to be a part of that shit.
I feel like you tell the same story every day.
All right, well, you tell stories. That's the end of my story.
We were talking about...
We'll hand it off to Angela.
No, we were talking about how he doesn't have... he doesn't know how to make a point, right? That he's saying that that Taylor Swift's dad has something to do with this case. And then we're talking about Candace Owens and Donald Trump again.
No legit Swiftie believes that. I'll stop. Okay. No legit Swiftie believes that Scott Swift story. So that's his name, Scott Swift.
Because if you're a Swiftie, you would know. I think that's so adorable.
Hmm.
That's nice that she has a good relationship with her parents. So what do you think he's going to cover now?
Who? Andy Signor?
Yeah,
I
do you
couldn't
think
care
he's still
less.
going to do Blake Lively stuff exactly the same, or is he scared? Is he scared off of it? Because like
I
he
couldn't
doesn't
care
know
less.
what's going to happen. What?
I don't care what happens to Andy Signor or what he covers. You know,
No, I was just curious.
I said I don't know, and I don't care what he covers.
Oh, Delicate said that's the video you were talking about. That's Daily Dose of Dana. You know, it's weird because I've seen her around. She covers all kinds of stuff. Like she covers all kinds of like legal cases. But I thought it was so strange that she was also doing pro Baldoni things.
It's just so weird that people get touched by this idea that they're being watched by celebrity. Like, who gives a flying
I know,
fuck?
right? That's why I'm
Like, they're
surprised by
all
her.
like excited. Like you think Andy Signor is not excited that Blake Lively is subpoenaing him? He's excited about it.
Yeah.
You know, he's got all kinds of fuck you money because he sits there and shills for a living and he makes $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. So he's got it $10,000 a month. He can go and show, you know, throw at his attorney to whom he can like defer when it comes to knowing his position on the TMZ drop on his name. You know, it's just all like fantastical, and what it is dubious.
Well, when he was on the
Yeah.
phone with you, he made the accusation that you were using his name for clout. And so I think that he thinks this way. So him having his name out there is a good thing for somebody like him.
Yeah. All press is good press, right?
Yeah, right. Even if it's negative.
Yep. Even if it's negative.
Erica says, I think he'll double down. I mean, it's interesting. It's not like there's a whole lot of news going on. So it would be a good opportunity to pivot, I guess, if he doesn't want more legal trouble from them.
He'll double down.
He'll double down.
Sure.
Oh yeah, he's still got that documentary to release. I wonder what happened.
He's also protected. He's also protected under the same rules that press are protected under, because he's a podcast. So he gets to protect sources. He gets to do all those things. And you know, you and I are technically journalists in the eyes of the law, even if we're not journalists and we're entertainers. He's an entertainer. That's what he is. He literally just reads off of headlines. He has no contribution to anything that is worth, anybody's actual time beyond the fact that he bumbles around and tells you shit that you think you're interested in. And that's about it for Andy Signor. He doesn't research anything. He doesn't.
Do you think he had to
interview anybody he doesn't prepare for anything. I sent him, for my interview, I sent him scenes. There's some other particular shit that's just like weird about him. I sent him scenes because he wasn't going to read the book, because literally he told me he doesn't read books. Fucking journalist. And so I sent him scenes from my book.
Press, but still, like he's not gonna read. He's gonna do an interview with you.
Press journalist. Okay.
Yeah.
So I send him some scenes. He fucking reads the scenes. Among those scenes, Leonardo DiCaprio, right, sexually exploits a TV star in front of all of us, right, in a really crude manner, which, by the way, was obviously edited completely down for the purposes of not exploiting the moment, right? We'll say, right, like to try not sexualize, this awful moment, and he reads it and he says, it's just kind of like a little frat stuff to me. And then he goes off to say, I'll go, I said, what are you talking about? He's like, we did this kind of shit when we were in college. I was, and I was,
are you admitting?
I responded to him. My response to him was like, I hope he didn't hurt anyone, Andy. It didn't make the interview. Shockingly, that didn't make the cut. I wonder if I recorded it. I may have, I record a lot of shit. So
yeah, you're like,
what
are you admitting to exactly?
He literally said, well, I hope he didn't hurt anyone, dude, because he literally admitted to doing something similar to what Leonardo DiCaprio did to Emily Foster in the book.
In front of a bunch of people. Humiliating her.
Yeah, like really grotesque stuff. Like the kind of stuff like, look, if you told me you did that stuff in middle school or pre-middle school, right? Like before middle school, if you were like, struggling as a teenager, you grew up in bad neighborhoods, you had no good parenting. These are all like ingredients for having to learn the hard way that kind of shit is super inappropriate. But if you're in college and you're doing that shit, if you're Peyton Manning and you're putting your junk on some woman's shoulder because you think it's funny and you're in your fucking 20s, You're a big fat loser, bro. You're a big fat loser. And eventually you're going to find yourself on a dubious list, to say the
Nadine's
least.
making a great point. If you were using Andy for clout, you would have asked him on your show and asked him or Candace if you were a sellout. If you were a sellout.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder whether he had to like re-edit his documentary or if anybody had to like cancel their production plans after Justin Baldoni's case got thrown out. I wonder if they're like, damn, what do you mean?
You got to think that we said this yesterday, but the scramble, these guys are all kind of scrambling for stories now. Diddy's done, they got the closures, but it's the news cycle. Something will come around, maybe they'll make some room for my story somewhere. Any more comments that you want to address?
I am curious about where Slick Mick has been and what he's up to. So I'm going to TikTok to see if he's answered.
I really hope I see Scott this weekend on that front, Nadine says. And if you were using, I see, yeah. And he obviously doesn't listen to your show. He should know better. Yeah, that's also interesting. I wish I could, let me see if I can find this bloody thing. I really do want to play you guys just a clip of like just the sort of how intense the call was. It's definitely stayed with me over these last couple of days. It's not easy.
What are you showing him?
Nothing. You do your thing. I'll do my thing over here. All right.
I don't understand though. Are you going to put a video of the inside of our house up on YouTube?
I'm not.
Okay, great. Oh my goodness. Erica said, "Shocking how he got Me Too'd." I know what's shocking to what's not shocking, right? Is how he doesn't seem capable of taking accountability for the things that he does.
Well, I can't diagnose anybody, but I don't know. He just seems like a very self-centered dude. He doesn't seem to really think about anything beyond himself at all. He believes himself over facts, over actual facts. I told the story yesterday. We have some new people here, so I don't want to like bore you, Angela, but I told the story. I just want to like let some of these new people know that, some of the things that went on prior to leading this so that people understand and have context for the things I'm saying. But yeah, he is, well, I forget what I was saying anyway, but yeah, he's a mess. He's an absolute fucking hot mess. And I really hope that, and I said this prior to these subpoenas going out, but I just hope that all these guys are held accountable. They're willfully participating in the destruction of somebody's life. They're doing it with the most shady of facts you can possibly imagine. And there is a difference between opining on something and trying to like sick wolves on people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a difference. There's a difference than saying I think somebody is something, and then what he's doing. I mean, he's shouting at me and telling me that she's Tobey Maguire, that she's Leonardo DiCaprio, and he doesn't know any of them. He's speaking like he has these positions in life, and all he is a fucking YouTuber who sits in his house in Florida and yaks his face off until it's purple. That's all he does. But there's he creates these, now he's gets wrapped up into this world. He's got confirmation bias like I've never seen in my life. It's like the most wildest thing when he did that thing with the Emily Foster, sure that I had told him who Emily Foster was and identified her as a specific actor. And he was arguing that when I told him I didn't, and that the person that he thought it was not the person. It's just, there's a psychology there that I don't know, I'd be very curious to know more about.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What is it? What is that? When you're like,
what are you doing but being a big gossip, says Kyre. Well, I'm telling what happened in a conversation. What do you mean by being a big gossip? Be specific. Tell me what you mean.
That's what we do.
What do you mean about being a big gossip?
We're a big gossip show.
Well, I don't think we are, actually. I mean, we're talking about what's out there.
Of course we like to gossip.
All right, fine. We're
current events, celebrity scandals.
But being a big gossip.
I mean, it was like a public subpoena that we're talking about.
I mean, if you want to compare me to Andy Signor, go ahead.
Also, Andy Signor has a show where all of the things he's doing are very public, so it's not like we're gossiping. I think that's funny.
What, from this person, Kyre?
Yeah.
Hey, Kyre, if you don't like me, bugger off. Like, you don't need to hang out here. I don't like you either. How about that? Just bugger off. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Go hang out with Andy Signor if you're a big fan.
Hey, this is interesting. So Alyssa said on YouTube,
I'm getting fucking ornery right now because I just don't like any of the way this
don't read the
live
comments
is going
then.
tonight.
I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Alyssa said, low-key, Tobey Maguire seems to have the same kind of disorder as Andy Signor. Your conversation with him gave me flashbacks to your conversation with Tobey before the verbal bludgeoning. Right, where he wasn't taking no for an answer, where he wasn't like listening to you tell him what was happening, as if, you know,
yeah,
he was asking questions because he didn't have any information, but he was sure the information you were giving him was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Erica said, I think we're just gabbing. That's true.
Well,
there's a difference.
I'm talking about the shit they're talking about. I'm the source of nothing. You know, the difference between Andy Signor and me is that Andy Signor is the source of this bullshit. You know what? I'm not slewing lies. That's the difference. You know?
Are you sure that's even what they were saying?
I'm not gossiping. I'm speaking about facts.
Are you getting defensive about something nobody said?
I'm saying whatever I want to say. Yeah, I'm agitated by pretty much everything today, but also some of the, shitty comments by Kyre, who is.
Since you're feeling all spicy.
Sure.
I was like, oh, maybe I should avoid asking this question. But Hai has asked it, and so we'll see your take on it in this mood.
Yeah.
If you met every guy now from Don's Plum cast, what is one question you would ask each of them?
If I met them now?
Yes.
Well, I have a hard time putting that into context because, like, is it now? Well, if I've just met them, I'd be like, yeah, what's up?
Oh, no. I mean, like, I think the question is, every guy now from the Don's Plum cast, what's one question you would ask them? So I think it is with the hindsight that you have currently.
I don't know if I could put it to one question. Why would probably why would you do what you did to us, and how can you justify it? I guess that would be the question. How can you justify what you did?
For all of them? Yeah,
justify what you did for me. Just what you did to and it's not just me, right? They did it to so many people.
They did it to each other.
So justify to me your actions.
Yeah, like how could you, Scott Bloom, ruin Kevin Connolly's...
I want to know why you did it.
Yeah.
I want to know why you did it. I want to know what about what we did at any point deserved the reaction that you guys had. Do you know? Like, I'm a flawed guy. Like, I'm fucking so irritated right now. I'm about to show all my flaws at once.
Why?
But what I'm not is a dishonest asshole. What I'm not is unkind. What I'm not, when I'm got, this person comes up, shows up and wants to call me a gossiper. But the reality is that I'm just talking, what I'm actually here to do is to try and set the gossiper straight. What I'm trying to do is stop the gossip and actually start with the actual facts, actually keep a reality-based conversation going instead of the fucking pie in the sky shit that all these other people like Andy Signor want to do, was showing up at exterior houses and getting interviews with people who rented out a house who were unhappy with the fucking people who rented it. Like, that's fucking news.
Yeah, specifically, Andy Signor said when he went and for his little documentary, they had It Ends With Us film used a house as a location. So he went to the house that they used as the location for Lily Bloom's house, and he knocked on the door, and apparently he interviewed these people for the documentary as if they have anything to do with anything. It sounds like garbage. But anyway, he brought it up to you and said that their opinion somehow matters in this case. These rando people that he probably doesn't even remember the names of.
Cosmic Urgency is reminding me that I did reunite with Scott Bloom, which is true. I did. And that didn't go well, and I wouldn't expect it to go well again, because, look, I mean, hanging out with a bunch of people who ruined my life or who tried to destroy my dreams, like, that's not going to go well. I have no respect for them at all. I think they're bad people ultimately. I don't think you can do the kinds of things that they did to me and have good in you. I just don't. Like if you're the kind of person who can inflict the kind of suffering that they and the kind of destruction on someone's life for virtually nothing. I mean, the worst you can hold me accountable for is that I was an insufficient communicator at the time. For whatever reason, you could that is the only thing you can actually like get a jury to convict me of if it was a fair and impartial jury, that I might have not been the best communicator throughout the process, and that might have exacerbated bad feelings that were brewing underneath that I wasn't paying close enough attention to.
I also think that it's
that would be the peak mistake I made.
To me, it's totally scandalous how you reunited with Scott Bloom and you tried to confront him about his part in your undoing.
Yeah.
Okay. And that he tried to like gray rock you,
Yeah.
that he was like trying to freeze you out and like not give you any. I mean, I'm assuming in that conversation that you had like daggers in your eyes, right?
I'm pretty sure I had fucking, I was doing the Tobey Maguire,
Okay.
like shouting.
So like, but he does have fault, and he knows that he was responsible for a lot of pain that you endured in this entire scenario, right? So like, why the fuck wouldn't he just try to talk to you about it? Like, it's not like you were going to throw punches or anything. Like, you were just asking him questions. Like, why?
I mean, there's we
and
everything is by
really
perspective.
Cowardly.
Everything is by perspective, right? Too Real, a Hollywood memoir. That's my perspective, right? The words I speak now, my perspective. He has his perspective. In his perspective, a perspective I probably would call either, I'd probably give it a lot of different names, and I won't even start labeling it. It's not going to be mine. So in his perception, in his memory, he has some egregious offense that justified the absolute and complete total destruction of everything that I touched.
You should know, you gestured to your book, but in neither of your...
I don't care. I really don't care. I said its name. There it is.
Well, so do you want to wrap it up?
No, we still got 20 minutes. Let's go.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Let me see. I gotta see if I don't know if I'm sorry if I'm grumpy, guys. But it's just one of those days. One of those days. Is the chats no good? Oh my, I'm just having all these tech nightmares and just whatever else. You got nothing in chat, Angela? I'm talking to you.
I'm looking.
Oh. I'm talking to you, man. Are you talking to me? Anyway, it's just also sad. I feel so bad for Diddy's witnesses and for Diddy's victims. I just feel bad for them. They're living in fear. It had to be like, think about all the folks that were opposed to Donald Trump. Think about that, the day after the election, like the way they felt. It's just scary, dude.
Erica,
monsters be coming.
Erica made this comment about one of Koberger's victims, Kaylee Gonsalves' dad.
Yeah.
It was the Gonsalves family that did not want the plea deal.
That's right.
I feel for Steve Gonsalves, but I think a large part of his anger is misplaced. The trial was never going to give him the details he wants. He needs therapy, he needs therapy much more than the vengeance he craves.
Yeah, and maybe it's vengeance. I think it's like he's looking for something to feel complete. Like he has. I think what happens, and this is all obviously way out of my realm of specialty, so this is just like 100% me just spitballing here, but I feel like it's entirely possible that when you have somebody you love so deeply and so dearly, so abruptly taken from you, in a way that seems so senseless and inexplicable, that you look for, you're trying to find any semblance of sanity and understanding in it. And if you can't, then you want to know every detail that leads to it. You want to know what caused it in some way, because there's this incompleteness. I went to sleep and she was there. I woke up and she was gone.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, and there's an ellipses at the end that can never ever, be fulfilled in any other way. It'll always
It's so
be
strange
empty.
that he said he wants to know every detail. But I think that Eric is right. The trial was never going to give him the details that he wants.
Sure wasn't.
They wouldn't have gone through every single detail.
No.
They would have had a medical examiner show up and be like, yes, the wounds on the victim matched the knife that came out of that sheath. And that's it. Cosmic Urgency was, this wasn't, we were talking about how Koberger got caught with the DNA evidence.
Right.
Okay. Said BTK asked the cops in one of his letters. This is amazing. I'd heard this before. This is incredible. BTK asked the cops in one of his letters if they could trace him if he sent them a floppy disk. And the cops were like, no, of course we can't do that. So he sent it, and then they traced it to the church he volunteered at. The cops were like, no, we absolutely cannot trace you if you send us something that is very easily traceable. They must have been like, we can't believe it worked.
Hi. If I touch this with my bare hands, will it leave a print? No. Please, just do it. If I lick this, is that a DNA sample? It sure isn't. It's just a lick.
It's just a free lick.
It's just a free lick right here on this lollipop, please. Oh, boy. Oh, what else? Everything is Diddy's trial was botched.
Good. I'm glad they're saying that. Oh, man. So, he's been sued.
Depressing.
He's been sued again, I think, by 2 other victims since his trial started. Cassie Ventura had she did a pretty
Their
good
lawsuits just took a blow.
Yes, I know, but she prevailed in her lawsuit. We got
Cassie.
a settlement or whatever.
Yeah, she got a settlement.
Yeah. And then, so I think that's what those other 2 people are after.
I appreciate all the likes, guys. I know that I haven't been my best tonight, and I apologize. So I do appreciate your kindness nonetheless. I guess when you do this every day, it's going to have your up and downs.
Alyssa's made a very sweet point. She said, well, the thing is about you asking the cast of Don's Plum questions.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, the thing is you don't owe these people anything. If anything, they should be wondering what they're going to say to you to make this right.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. I feel that's exactly correct. I don't feel like it's me to, I don't feel like I have anything to explain to anybody on this thing. This was these guys decided to put dynamite to this situation, not me. What we did was the most natural thing you can do in Hollywood. I mean, we made a movie.
I know.
I mean, you literally can't ask for a more congruent action than to make a movie in Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we were in a music studio and we were musicians, we would have probably made a record. It's just what happens when artists come together and they do something. And we had that opportunity, and then they destroyed it. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I hope there's some break coming eventually because, the book is stalled and like it's just hard to get everything off the ground or anything off the ground. And I know that a lot of it is just that proverbial foot that's so heavy on my neck, But da-dee-da-dee-da and all that stuff, We got 4 likes on YouTube. So moving on up. Moving on up on YouTube.
I don't know why you don't want to have your book in your frame.
Well, we can talk about it offline.
You don't want to explain?
We can just talk about it offline if you don't mind.
Cosmic Urgency is asking if you watched Pearl yet.
Oh no, God damn it.
I know. We haven't been watching movies lately. I
think part of why I'm just a little burned out just because I'm trying to get content up on Reddit. I'm sorry, on these 2 platforms because I can't grow the live until I do. And so I spend hours editing and I can't find enough time in the day. I can't find enough time to get all of it done. And so it's just been a little bit difficult. And so finding time to watch a movie is just getting, exceedingly difficult to do. I want to see this so bad. So where is it playing? It's on Netflix? No, it's on Max.
Sweet.
I want to see this very bad. So I have to figure it out. I'm going to watch it soon. I'm going to come back with a full review.
Maybe we'll watch the whole trilogy this weekend.
Oh, that's right. It's a trilogy, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could do that. We could watch the trilogy this weekend. Anybody else see it besides Cosmic Urgency?
If you commit to watching the trilogy and the first one sucks, do you keep going or do you?
Usually no.
No.
Yeah, no. Why would you? Why would you keep going? No, I can't do that with books either.
Also, Cosmic Urgency, you have to answer if you think that there's a correct way to watch the three, or whether we should just watch them in release order, in order of their
Well,
release.
yeah. How did the filmmakers intend it?
Well, that's my question. Because sometimes people.
Oh, Nadine said she's going to another convention in Atlanta, and she'll talk the book.
Sweet.
She's over giving us likes on YouTube. Thank you so much, or on TikTok. Thank you, Nadine. I know I'm being a little whiny bitch. I know that.
You're a bit of a stick in the mud. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I just too many things today. Too many things like.
You're not the only one that feels this way.
People are like getting on my nerves. Of like pretty much around every corner.
Delicate saying I'm grumpy too. Nadine said same, and I've read a bunch of people online were like, okay, well, obviously we're following these trials, and it's a real downer day for the people involved in those.
It's just like the
but
losers
a lot of
keep
people
winning.
are just a lot of people are feeling really down.
The losers keep winning, and they keep winning in these ways that are like really defeating, defeating our morale as a, and yeah, like I have dreams of justice, and they just get shattered when I see that it's just impossible. I will never ever get justice. I will never ever see Don's Plum or this situation handled fairly in my life. It's just never going to happen. I've written a book that it gets, great reviews. People love it. I poured my heart into it for 4 years, and it's not perfect. I could have written another 6 months, no problem. There are typos in it, for God's sake. But I just gave that book everything I had, and it got the great reviews, but I cannot get it off the ground. And it just feels like, and yet, like in all my research, it was like, all you got to do is get to like 20 reviews, and all you got to do is, and I did all these things and hit all these milestones or these benchmarks, and it just doesn't happen. And so some days get harder than others. And when you're sitting there and you're having your fight, and then you get lifted by people in their good fight, like, if you remember how I felt after Karen Reed won, it's a win for all of us who are suffering injustices. Mm-hmm. It's for we all carry these injustices on our backs. Like forever, the victims of Kohberger's crimes will see when others are, we'll see crimes that get solved or where killers get caught, or even better, where they're prevented, and they're gonna go through something. Maybe it's intensely negative, maybe it's hopeful and inspirational. We don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. What it's going to manifest like. Because there are times when these stories come out, and I feel great, and I want to come in and I want to bounce around. I want to have a good time. Today's not one of these days. A bad guy got away, and I'll tell you that nobody's talking about this. And I guess this is a good time since the end of the show, and practically nobody's here. I think he's going to get the pardon. I think he's more likely to get the pardon now.
Oh, because it's a federal.
I think he's more likely to get the pardon now than he was if he got nailed on those other charges, because now he's going to be able to sell Trump on it being a frame-up job. They're just trying to stick him for something. It's going to be a letter to Trump saying, take my $5 million, and this letter about how they're just ganging up on guys like you and me. And he's friends with fucking Trump. So watch how Diddy does nothing but a few months after this conviction. Watch. Mark my words. Well, I'll fucking turn this into a short, and I'll publish it the day after we find out that Donald Trump has pardoned Diddy, and then Donald Trump has a diatribe about how he was being framed, just like Donald Trump was being framed in Stormy Daniels. Because these fuckers stand together. They do their shit together. They're a club. And you know what? We don't have a real true club for people who don't. We don't have that.
For people who don't.
Yeah, for people who are decent-minded people. We don't have a club. We call that, we want that to just be normal society. So we don't club up. We don't have the same kinds of support systems that these fucking degenerates have. We just don't. You can see them. They have clubs. They have like organizations. Like, we're just scattered all over the place, and we assemble and kind of like take each other's temperature. Are you one? Are you one? We don't know where the, I don't know what to call them. I call them nut jobs. It's insensitive, but I have no other, adequate nomenclature today. Just these people who are just off, just tilted. They they band together in so many different ways and they become a powerful force. And I don't really see that happening with people who don't. Nadine says we all have those days. That's why I haven't been here, salty as fuck.
I love that. I love salty. I'm so glad that that's part of our
Yeah.
vocabulary. It's so perfect.
User 959 and then a bunch of numbers afterwards says that I seem overwhelmed this evening. I'm kind of heartbroken, dude. I really am just heartbroken. And sometimes heartbreak, can, make you feel your own wounds, I'm feeling wounded today, man. I really am. I'm feeling a little battered, a little exhausted. And I just wish that, I wished for better things, we all saw that tape. We all saw what Cassie went through. So that girl is now living in fear again is, I think the most horrible injustice of it all, And the worst part about it is that the DA decided not to charge that crime.
Oh my God, I know.
So here she is, her whole life
she
being.
She went on the stand for 3 whole days, tearfully. She's heavy with child. Went and put herself through a horrible experience for them not even to send that back to the jury. That's crazy.
Yeah, Nadine's talking about how huge pregnant she was. Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you, man, the studies are clear about the kind of stress that puts on the child. It's intense, dude. That child went through it. I truly hope that they are aware of the potential for the stress that child has gone through, that unborn child. Because it's well documented in terms of high stress and the potential for an effect of some form.
I know. I think it's more documented in the first and second trimester, but the third trimester you're just kind of finishing the cook. I don't think it's so bad in the third.
That make a lot of sense to me, but maybe you're right. To me, it seems like you would. Anyway, I'm sorry, user. I wish I was a better company tonight. But I do this 5 days a week. So you guys are going to it's called Too Real because I can't fucking hide what I'm feeling some days. Some days I'm not here. I'm not Andy Signar. I'm not here to do the Howdy Doody show for you. I'm not here to pretend everything's one way when it's not. I'm heartbroken for victims today. I'm heartbroken for, and I also just feel generally bad, and I just lots of weird things today. So I didn't bring it like I usually do, or at least like I try to do. And I do feel bad. I do hope you'll still come back. If you don't understand, if you come back, I'll buy you a drink.
We'll get you a slice of cake from this big cake we got here. And we'll buy you a drink.
Big nothing cake.
So that's it? You're signing off?
Just watch Pearl, says Cosmic Urgency.
Oh, he thinks the other ones aren't very good.
The other two aren't great. Pearl is a masterpiece and takes place before the first one. Anyway, it's a prequel.
Well, we'll be the judge of that.
Did you know that, in my opinion, and I say this lightly, but saying something's a masterpiece, and because I say it lightly because I do, is a bit of a spoiler.
Dale thinks everything is a spoiler. He doesn't want to know anything about a movie except for the title and how to stream it.
Well, the reason I go with that with Masterpiece is because in Masterpiece, the reason it's a potential spoiler is because it's a subjective opinion.
There's no way it's a spoiler.
And it sets up an expectation for the film that the film may not be able to.
So if you have an expectation, that's a spoiler?
If the expectation was placed by somebody who had seen the film. It's not a spoiler if I have an expectation. In other words, if I anticipate seeing a movie, or I saw a trailer and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this, or I read the book and I can't wait to see the adaptation. These are all, that's all within the realms.
So you're saying if somebody says a movie is good, or if they say a movie is bad, you think that's a spoiler?
Well, it is.
What have you learned about the movie that you didn't know before? And how has it spoiled your experience?
That it's bad or that it's good.
It's not a spoiler. Nobody's revealing a plot. Or, if something happens.
He's like, I call stuff a masterpiece. Chill. I'm chill. I'm totally chill about this.
I'm glad that
you
he calls.
can.
Yeah, I'm really. I think
I'm
it's
going to watch it.
I think it's wonderful that he's really loose with the assigning something a masterpiece, because I think that art deserves that kind of reverence. Like, yeah, elevate it always.
It's not real masterpiece. It's not a real spoiler. The real spoiler is when you
It's not a
say
real
it's a
spoiler.
cry, when you cry in it. That's a spoiler. That's just straight spoiler.
Like, you're gonna have an emotional experience.
I write these things, and no, it's not that you're going to have an emotional experience. To get somebody to cry in things you write or things you make is hard to do.
So you're saying that there's only a few ways that you would be able to accomplish that, and so that's why it's a spoiler.
So, well, no,
One of those things will happen.
no. What I'm saying is that in order to get to somebody, to bring somebody to tears, you have some very delicate setup that you've got to do. So that means that you're going to like draw these lines. Like, for example, I might, I'll spoil one of my own projects since there's like 6 people here. I have a movie that in the end, that he coughs and he gets sick. He gets like a cough because he catches a cold from a kid. The kid gets sick and then he gets sick. And you don't know that anything bad is going to happen from that. It's just a guy gets sick because a kid gets sick. Well, if you saw the movie, go, oh my God, the ending, it's so sad. I cried. Oh my God.
Then when
the
protagonist has
as soon as the protagonist gets a cough, I'm 100% mother. I'm already screaming
because he's gonna die.
Yeah, and especially and I'm gonna give myself a fucking total boast here, but if the writer was clever enough to hide it so well,
yeah,
because I hid that shit in my script, that shit is hidden. You don't know it's coming, bro. You don't know you're about to get clubbed over the head with sadness. You have no idea.
I know. What's great about what the script you're talking about is the whole time that the protagonist has a cough, he's just really annoyed by it.
He's annoyed
because he's staying at his friend's house who has a baby who got him sick.
Well, they're all stressed and he's like, you're making us all sick because this whole thing accumulates into this big stressful thing because he's staying at his friend's house who's like in this like fight with his wife and he's like, you're making us all sick. And little do we know
that he's really sick.
That he's going to die. Spoiler! I'm spoiling my own shit. But that's why it's a spoiler. If you say something sad going in, if you tell me, like, every time a book says, and I still get into them because sometimes I'll buy into that much of a spoiler because I just want to be moved that way emotionally. So it becomes a subgenre in a way because I'm like, I want to cry today or I want to feel emotionally moved in this sort of profound way. And so I'll look for movies that, are where people are reviewing that. But if you go to a movie, it's a brand new movie, it comes out in the theaters, and then you're like, oh, you go Friday, and then Saturday morning you're on the phone with your fucking best friend. You're like, oh my God, bro. At the end of the movie, I swear to God, you're going to be in a puddle of your own tears. I'm wrecked by that. I get wrecked by that. I'm like, I don't even want to go see it. Now I need to just completely forget about it and forget that you fucking said that so that I can give the writer the opportunity to truly set that emotion up for me because it's a big deal. Do I still enjoy watching Don's Plum asks hi, knowing how it ended in real life? Yeah, well, what happens with Don's Plum is that I'll watch it and then I'll suddenly realize that I got a grin on my face.
That's great.
Like I'll just be watching it. Like sometimes I'm watching it because I'm going to pull a clip or whatever. I haven't sat down and like watched it from beginning to end in years and years and years, but whenever I watch clips or whatever, because I'm pulling them or whatever it might be, I get this grin. I just get a certain, this is when I feel like this is how this is the measure of my own work in terms of if I can forget that I'm reading it or I'm writing or I'm watching it, that it's mine, and then I'm instead being drawn into whatever's going on in it, whether it's the writing or whether it's what's going on the screen. If that happens, then I feel like we've accomplished something brilliant. Even if that's only for a moment, even if the film only manages to pull that off for a brief period of time, or if the book can only keep you for so long, I still feel like that's really like the highest level of achievement in art. And so it's sort of a litmus test of whether I feel like I've done anything. Like when I'm reading my own stuff, I take it a break. And if I'm reading my own stuff, if I find myself thinking about the stuff I'm reading as the writer of it, then I know that my work is far from ready. If I suddenly find myself like, oh, Dale, what the fuck are you doing? You need to get back to work because I'm into the characters or or just enthralled might be like a little too self-congratulatory, a little self-ingratiating there, but like to just be involved enough to be like, oh shit, that's right, I'm here for a purpose. I'm supposed to be like, for example, sometimes I'll go to Don's Plum because I'm supposed to pull a clip, and I'll get carried away and watch the whole sequence of scenes and be like, oh fuck, I was supposed to go just pull this clip down, but I got wrapped up in it. Or when I'm reading, like I'll read an excerpt from the book or whatever, and then I like actually find myself like mindlessly turning the pages, and then I'm like, oh shit, that's cool.
That's great.
Jacksonville was ranked the most boring city in America. Why are we talking about it? I got bored reading that.
Is that a comment?
Yeah, Delicate said Jacksonville was ranked the most boring city. Oh, that's where Andy Signor lives. I forgot. That is, I don't know if that's your point.
In Tampa.
Oh, does he live in Tampa?
I think he lives in Tampa.
Nah, fuck, he's a Florida guy, whatever. Florida man.
Maybe he's got like a PO box in someplace else, so he doesn't get sent any threats.
Well, I've been a shit tonight. I'm not a shit every night, and you know that, and that's why
you get a pass. You get a pass for being a shit. Everyone's entitled to be a shit every now and then.
Well, I'm glad I didn't talk shit about Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Or did I?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you and the rest of the world.
Nobody watches my shit. Absolutely nobody
you
watches
and everybody else. So don't worry.
And by nobody, I know you guys aren't nobodies. That's not what I mean. I love you guys implicitly, expressively.
He is never going to get out from underneath this reputation.
Who?
Diddy.
No. He's a rap.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's a rap. I don't know why he was ever anything at all. Like, it was such a fucking nasty fucking...
I know.
From word one, I was like, why does anybody like this
good.
guy? Did you hear what he said about music and making music?
No.
He was like, no, he's like, I'm not good at it. No one's good at it. Like most artists.
I'm sorry.
No, most hip hop artists aren't. They're like, they just bring in these guys who like put these beats together and they rap it all together and they just put it all out. He's like, but there's not real artistry in most hip hop.
Well, that says a lot about why he sounds as bad as he does, because I definitely disagree.
Oh no, there's artistry in hip hop. We know that, but
that he has that attitude about it really explains a lot about why he sounds.
He's like he's a music manufacturer.
Yeah.
He's not a music artist. He's a music manufacturer in the same way that like the guys who produced Milli Vanilli are, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that they won't put out a decent song or whatever. Although I don't think ever voluntarily at least listened to a full P. Diddy song. I've never even considered him anything but an asshole ever. Even though I've heard about his entrepreneurship and heard about his musicianship, I've only ever considered him an asshole the whole time. It came by default. Like he was just like, oh, this guy's like ill, bro. Ill. I'm illing on this guy.
Well, you have a good judge of character, I guess.
Nah, I wouldn't say so. Look at the mess I'm in. All right. You guys are the absolute most divine of humans. And that you tolerate me on even these, my most off nights, is truly something to be grateful for. And so I am so thankful to be with you tonight. And I hope that you will come back tomorrow. I will tickle myself before I come on to make sure that I am not anything less than...
Can you tickle yourself? Is
a
that
hunk-a-dory
possible?
dude. I will also do more tech support shit and see if I can get my other stuff to work so that I'm not drifting and that my lives are...
Well, if this worked,
better.
I mean, you might as well just stick with this, right? Anyway, we'll figure it out.
You are wonderful. I'm going to go repair over some lychee nuts and an episode of Gemstones.
You deserve some ice cream is what I think you deserve.
I don't eat ice cream.
We should go out for like a chocolate milkshake to make you feel better.
Keep it real, you guys. Keep it real.
So